Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us today on Newsmakers. Our focus today is the outdoors, and more specifically here in Joplin, we're going to find out about the Shoal Creek Conservation and Education Center that Missouri Department of Conservation has opened up for people to enjoy. Joining me is Kim Bonner, naturalist. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And really, it's just been within the last few months that the Conservation Department has opened it up for the public to visit the center.
Yes, a couple of years ago, Audubon withdrew from the agreement with the city of Joplin and with the Missouri Department of Conservation, and then we were down and out for a little while there, about a year, or actually probably a little bit longer than that, but we were working on the building and getting everything up and running, and so we opened on September 6th.
Right. So now the building, the facilities are all operated by the Missouri Department of Conservation.
Yes, yes.
Right. So I'd like to spend some time today then letting people know about the features, what you have, why they should be able to go out there. I know a lot of people have used that center in the past, so
sure.
Some of the options and what you have. So, but a lot of planning went in when the Conservation Department, I guess, basically took it over. It wasn't like we're going to shut the door one day and open it the next.
Right. No, there was a lot of work that needed to be done on the facility and also on the ground. So, and that's still an ongoing process.
Right.
But yeah, we had to take care of a lot of features first, and then that's when we decided to open.
Now, your title is Education, Conservation and Education Center. So education's a big emphasis of what you're trying to do.
Oh, yes, it certainly is. We encourage, well, we have a lot of general public programs that we offer for people. Many of those require registration, so we do ask that people go to the Missouri Department of Conservation website to sign up, and usually there are links for that if they sign up for the newsletter that we get, so they'll be able to follow that and immediately be able to sign up for it. But yeah, we have a lot of the programs, general public programs. We also are involved in getting school groups to come for their field trips. We've been doing a lot of fall programs.
Right, the outdoor, bring the kids out.
Exactly.
Things, right? So
matter of fact, we did a large group today, and we have one tomorrow. So that's the other emphasis that we have, is we really want to get students out on their field trips and engage them in nature and to see what we have to offer.
Great. Well, I know we have some video, so instead of just talking about the center, let's let people see it. I know it's something that may recognize, but I wanted to kind of talk over what we have in the center. You've identified it, obviously, with the Conservation Department logo.
Right. Yeah, that is. This is the main walk that goes up to the building, and you can see a lot of the native landscaping that is surrounding it. We are trying to get it to where people can look at the landscaping and think, oh yeah, that's what I want in my yard. So it's a work in progress, but we're trying to get it to where it looks like something you would want to plant in your yard. So
something that would keep the native species in their yard. So.
And yeah, this is the aquarium, and we have got some really large fish in there. There's a monster bass that you'll probably be able to see here in just a moment, but the aquarium is there he is.
Boy.
But the aquarium is really very impressive, and I think people would want to come and see that. Lots of other fish in there besides the big bass. Of course, you can see suckers and different kinds of bluegill, and it's just a great
place. These are native fish.
They're native fish, yeah.
Area.
These were pulled out of, I think, Shoal Creek, so yeah. And we had some work done on the aquariums as well, and it's always a work in progress.
Right.
You know, but the outside of it looks really great, and we had some people come from Chase Studio, and they worked on really kind of sprucing it up a little bit.
Landscaping at the aquarium, right? And how many gallons is this? I mean, people think of their little home aquariums.
Oh, gee, I don't know.
So it's a very large aquarium.
I don't know.
And so with a lot of different species of different types of fish in there.
Right, right. And up, it's kind of divided into three sections. We have the top section, which is right here.
The turtles.
Good thing they come up. But yeah, that's the turtle. It's sort of like the wetland area.
Okay.
And then we have a mid tank, which is like a riffle area, and then that big deep tank is the deep pools that you see. So it's kind of an indicator of different stages in a creek.
You find the depth in the creek as you went there, and of course you represented the different animals that you would find in this area. Then.
Exactly, and we see bullfrogs, of course. So we've got 3 big ones there. They eat very well, you can tell. And then there's other things that are. This is the exhibit that we have right now.
Interactive exhibits for people to work with, right?
Lots of different exhibits for them to look at right now. This particular one is on, a lot focuses on forests and trees and
just really paying attention to nature around you. You look at your trees in your yard, look around to see what's out there.
Lots of things to look at, lots of things. This is the natural objects shelving that we have where people can look at skulls and feathers and things like that.
friendly
So we have
snake
some,
there.
yeah, we have some snakes on display. Some other exhibits that are available for people
So
to look at
identifying
different
birds' nests, some
displays.
more snakes,
Venomous snakes here.
So,
So
really,
lots of things for people to
you
see.
can learn a lot just without being in a tour, just going in and taking a private walk through there.
And not only that, of course, we have lots of information for people, so lots of brochures and things like that. Oh, this is our wildlife viewing area. This is where we feed birds, and we also have a really cool water feature that we're getting up and running. And matter of fact, today we did Project Feeder Watch, which is a citizen science project where we watch birds for certain times, and then
you kind of log what you're
we
seeing?
log it. It's out of Cornell University, so it's a great program.
So that helps you kind of monitor the birds as they're coming and migrating?
Right.
And so
It's a winter snapshot of bird populations around the globe, actually. And this is Silver Creek. This is looking out over Silver Creek Glade. There's a lot of misconception. I think a lot of people think that this is Wildcat Glade, and it is not.
This is the
right here,
Silver Creek area.
Yes, this is Silver Creek, and then right across the way there you can see is Silver Creek Glade. And this is the outlook where he's panning.
Right. And obviously,
stuff
this
right here.
recorded in the fall as the seasons were changing. You had a little
Sure.
mix of colors, so you know,
Right,
and then you have some trails. And
Yeah, there's quite a few cut paths and trails that go through the landscaping so that people can really walk through it and get an idea of the different plants that they can use in their own landscaping. So we wanted to make it an inviting area where you see this trail and you want to go on it and you want to look around at what is waiting for you. That's the pavilion or the gazebo. And then there's just a lot of other things to look at.
Just the
Lots of
natural
things along the
features that you would
trail.
find out there?
Yeah, there's great wildlife to see, lots of things. You just never know what you're going to see. The birding is great. We try to maintain a list of the wildlife that people are seeing. So as you first walk in the door, we have it all written out what was seen like within the last week. So
these are the animals that are active, the birds that are in the area, and
These
what
are
you can see.
the birds that you might be able to see today, and what has been seen in the last few weeks. This is some of our garden work that we've been working on.
Well, I know you have different times of the year when you talk about gardening naturally, using natural plants, so you're
Right.
putting it to use right there, showing them.
Exactly, yeah, that's what we try to do, is to get people to incorporate native plants into their landscape. So, yeah.
And that's something that people don't, you know, they think, well, I've got a house, I have to have a garden, I have to put in certain types of plants, but the emphasis on the native things that will
Yes,
stay and live.
the reason that we emphasize native plants is because that's what our wildlife and birds and so forth are used to. I mean, they have they've evolved with all of the native plants. So, and all the insects really like native plants as well. And of course, when you think about it, that's an important part of a food chain, are the insects. So as they are feeding on these native plants, they're becoming food for lots of different animals.
And I know you have different types of bushes that have berries at different times of the year that feed the birds.
Yes, we have lots of different bushes, a lot of different flowers that bloom at different times, so that there's always a nectar source for different insects, butterflies, so forth.
So that sounds like something in the wintertime when people look in their yard and say, well, it's kind of dead and kind of drab, what can I do? They could get resources from you as far as ideas what to plant next year.
Yes, and we usually have a native plant sale in the spring and then also in the fall. We have native plants for your garden. I believe that is a brochure that we give out to people as well. There's lots of other information too. And people can go to the Missouri Department of Conservation website and find out more information about a lot of these things like that.
I'm sure
too.
the internet with the web has
Sure.
a lot more
Oh,
information
yeah.
today beyond the printed materials, but you know,
Right.
some people still like that
Oh,
piece of
yeah,
paper
absolutely.
in their hand.
I
And
understand that, yes.
Looking and following that together. So different programs, you mentioned you have different things. You mentioned the birds. Do you have bird programs that
Oh,
have
yes.
people look at the birds in their own yard?
Matter of fact, I just did a Feeding Backyard Birds in the Winter program where people learned about the best foods, the best places to put their bird feeders, and people got to actually assemble a bird feeder to take home with them. And I also gave them some Blackwell sunflower seed as they went out the door with it too. So yeah, we do lots of programs on birds, lots of programs on many different types of native plants or animals. So people just need to sign up for our newsletter so they always know what's going on. And they can do that by either calling the office at 417-629-3434, or they can do that by going online and signing up for it. So there's different ways to
So you have a
get it.
scheduled event throughout the year, even though we're in the wintertime, there's educational programs going on.
Yeah, there are certain things that we know are going to be coming up, you know, that happen every year, whether it's our native plant sale or whether it's Stella Eagle Days, which will be in January, and a lot of short-eared owl hikes that we will be doing at up by Minden Mine. So there's some really cool things that are coming up, and I encourage people to check it out because it's not something you're going to want to miss. You're going to want to be there.
Well, I know a lot of people, some of our viewers, you know, they may live in town, they say, well, I live more of an urban area, but there's still wildlife, urban wildlife.
Oh, wow, yes. As a matter of fact, I had a report the other day about a great big buck across Silver Creek on Silver Creek Glade. So, you know, you never know what you're going to see. We see a lot of scorpions, tarantulas, which might discourage some people, but I don't mean to be doing that. But yeah, there's just so much wildlife available for people to look at, and it's a fun walk too. Our trail system connects with the Wildcat Park trail system. That's the city of Joplin. So there's around 4 miles worth of trails that people can do. Very nice. And some of it goes through the forest, some of it's along the creek, Shoal Creek, and then some's up on a cliff. So it's a very varied habitats that people can be looking at as they're walking along.
And they can do that even on the days when the center's not open.
Oh, absolutely.
Those trails are open during sunrise to sunset, basically?
Yes, pretty much so. So there's a lot of things for people to do, even if the center is not open. And of course, that's what we want to do. I mean, our mission is to manage the fish forests and wildlife resources of the state, but we also want to provide opportunities for people to connect with nature. And that's what we want. We want people to come in, look at all of the resources that we have available, and then get out there on those trails and you know, get in touch with nature and, you know, enjoy it.
Do you find that some people might come in and say, I have a tree in my yard and I'm not sure what it is?
Oh,
they turn to you for help and say,
oh, absolutely. That's one of the big parts of my job that I just love, and that is identifying different animals or plants that people have. So all you got to do is send those photos to me or bring them in, bring in a branch. We have a forester that's there, and if you have trouble with a tree or something and can bring in a branch, a lot of times he'll be able to tell people what's wrong with it. So there's a lot of things that people can use us for, and we're happy to help people however we can.
So kind of that urban forestry, you may not have acres and acres of land, but you have a mix of trees in your yard, or you're looking at maybe planting some new. You have someone who can help guide them.
Absolutely. Yes, we can give advice on things like that. So we're a resource that is there for people, so use us. You know, we're glad to have anybody's questions or anybody's problems that you have. We're glad to help you with those.
And what about, I call them nuisance animals sometimes. I've talked to people who say, well, I have a groundhog under my shed.
Oh, yes.
You have assistance for people with things like that.
Well, what we do have are traps that people can borrow from us. So there are live traps that people can borrow, and there's different places that people can release these animals after they've trapped them. You know, if you have a groundhog.
You let them know, what do I do with it after I catch it?
Yeah, we do have certain places that they can release certain animals. So yeah, we can even help them with that.
Right, a lot of things that go on. So you mentioned children early on, and I imagine that must be an exciting part, getting the enthusiasm when the young.
Oh, absolutely. And part of what we want to do is connect with children very early on. So we offer a lot of programs that are geared for like preschoolers, and eventually we'll be adding to that too, and we'll be including like a kids program for kids, conservation kids, things like that. But all of that stuff is in the planning process right now. But yeah, we have a Little Acorns program that's coming up. It's geared for kids age 3 to 6 years old. That's going to be this Friday at 10:30, and then we have another one on a Saturday, November 23rd, I believe, that's coming up. So, and it's for preschoolers, but it's also for parents.
They have to be with the preschoolers when they're there,
right. And this particular one is on white-tailed deer. Who doesn't like deer? And they have the most adorable craft that they get to make with that too. So yeah, we're trying to make those connections with people early on, and we want to teach parents how they can go with their children outside and feel comfortable doing that, and introducing them to nature. So we want to be that help that helps parents along in discovering nature with their kids.
I can see how that could be a challenge sometimes for parents, that maybe they don't have experience with nature, so you're helping them learn that they can pass it on to their children.
Yeah, we even offer different kinds of programs on safety, like outdoor hazards, and what people can do to prepare when they are deciding to take their family out. Plus, we have a lot of outdoor skill things that we do. So if people are interested in fishing, we have lots of fishing programs programs, things where we teach people how to fish, where we give them fishing opportunities, and those all happen in the spring and summer, and then into the fall a little bit. Of course, there's not much of that goes on in the winter. Yeah, but we do lots of those. So if you're interested in fishing and maybe you're not very sure exactly how to start and you kind of want to take your family but you don't know where to begin, we are a great resource for that. And we're happy to help people, and you just have to sign up for our newsletter so that you will know what we have going on. And we also have other outdoor skill things that happen as well, like archery. So just keep checking, and we've got lots of stuff going on.
Well, you mentioned fishing, and I think there used to be like a free kids fishing day in the summer or early summer. Is that still happening with the
I believe so. Yes, that still happens. And I know that I think it's in April, we have a Kellogg Lake Fishing Day that happens in
regionally they can go to one place and be able to tie that together?
Lots of different things. We have a conservation area called Walter Woods, and it has a pond on it that we stock, and then we do lots of programs there for beginner fishing. So people can learn how to tie knots, what kind of bait to use, and they just kind of learn about fish too. You know, yeah, exactly. As they catch fish, they learn how to take them off the hook and things like that. So that's a great little area. It's only like 7 miles, or I'm sorry, about 7 minutes from Shoal Creek, so it's down not very far at all. So that's another place that we utilize for outdoor skills type programs.
Great. Now the creek itself, Shoal Creek flowing through there, has a long history as well with the Joplin region. And a lot of people come and they're just kind of interested in that aspect of tying into Joplin and the region.
Yes, and of course that's a great emphasis for us too, is on water quality. We want people to connect with the water resources there, so we'll be offering canoeing classes and kayak, things like that. But we want people to enjoy the water resources, but to appreciate it and to understand how to conserve that resource. That's a big emphasis for us because, of course, water quality is an issue that should be of concern for everybody, and it certainly is for us, and we want to also help people to understand how they can be better stewards of water.
Well, I know you have a lot of educational materials. You mentioned the website, and I know there's a lot of videos that people can just watch through your internet programs. Yes,
there's great videos. You just go to the MoCon, I think it's the YouTube channel, and there's a lot of things available, little short videos for people to learn about particular hunting techniques or anything, any kind of bird or animal that you're interested in. I'm sure there's something available on it.
You can go online and say, that's what it is, let me learn more about it.
Exactly, exactly. So there's just lots of things for people to connect with.
You mentioned hunting as well, and so if people need those hunting licenses, they can get them through the center still?
They can. There is a gift shop there at the Shoal Creek Ed Center, and that is run by the Wildcat Glades Friends Group. And man, is it wonderful. It is just beautiful. They have all kinds of outdoor gifts for the nature lover, so I encourage people to check that out. They have just a beautiful gift shop. Plus, people can get their permits there as well.
Right. So the people who want to get those regular hunting and fishing permits, they can go there and pick those up. And tags for the extra things that they need to do. And have all that together. And then, of course, for the hunters and the fishermen, you probably have the books that tell them that there's certain seasons when things are happening.
Yes, we have all that information for hunters and fishermen there at the center. All you have to do is just drop by and we'll give you whatever it is you're wanting. We even have the wildlife code books for people if they want that. So lots of information available for people.
Right. And of course, we're recording this program as we're going into the fall. It's a hunting season. You have the deer season, a lot of things happening. So.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, opening season, I believe, firearms is this weekend coming up. Yeah, because we have a lot of chronic wasting disease testing and stuff that's going to be done.
And that's something we've heard more about this year because certain counties, I guess, is part of the process. When you check in your deer, you're getting a test.
Yes, and that's again something that people can find out more information by either calling the center or they can go online and read more about that.
Great. Now, the aspect of hunter education, will you see more opportunities for that locally too? When people, there's certain ages you have to have a hunter safety course.
Yes,
before you can hunt,
yes, and I tell you, what's interesting to me is that more and more people are doing it online, and so there are fewer classes available, but there are fewer classes that are needed because most people are taking advantage of being able to do that online. Now, having said that, we do still offer skills classes. So, you know, there's skills classes that people
Right.
have to pass in order to be able
So you
to
need that
do that.
hands-on skills
Yes,
application
yes.
as well as taking the online.
So look for those too, because we do have those at the Nature Center and lots of different places around the Joplin area. So you still need to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the aspect of something for people, we've talked about children, but people of all ages, do you have programs for maybe the senior citizens, that they can be involved as well?
Yeah, I mean, actually, any of the programs that we have, such as the birdhouse, or the birdhouses, or
So anybody at any age can come in and build a birdhouse.
Exactly. It's not limited to any particular age, those general public programs usually. For instance, I had one on spiders, which I know that for some people it's like, that's really creepy, but it was really fun.
I mean, people are curious, yeah.
Yeah, people learned all about spiders, and then we went outside and people got to see how you look for spiders in pitch dark.
Wow.
And you can find them very easily. So it's really, and that was for all ages. I had all ages that came. There were children, but there were also elderly people who were there too.
So is that kind of like a flashlight hunt in the dark?
It is, yes. You have to hold your flashlight up to your eyes, and then you'll see little diamonds sparkling, and that is a spider eye.
So these little tricks and trades.
Exactly.
And the aspect of nighttime wildlife probably is interesting too. You mentioned owls earlier.
Yes.
People may hear them, but they don't realize where are they in those trees.
Right. That's another thing that we're going to be having coming up. A lot of the short-eared owl hikes that take place at Shawnee Trails Conservation Area, but we're also going to be having something new this year in January. We're going to be having Dickerson Park Zoo come with their owls, live owls, and be doing some programs while we do some owl hikes. While they're doing that, we'll kind of do both, so it should be a lot of fun.
Now, I had someone mention to me today, just even, that they saw some eagles north of town.
Oh, yeah.
So people don't think about bald eagles in this area, but there are certain places where they will be seen.
Absolutely. They are seen more and more in the winter, of course, because we have that migration of eagles from the Great Lakes area in Canada down into places where we have open water, like in Missouri. So we do see an increase here. We have reports of them around Shoal Creek. We have, of course, Stella Eagle Days, which for whatever reason we have a lot of eagles that are down in that valley right there. So it's a really great opportunity for people to see lots of eagles.
So really, the winter time is not a time you necessarily have to stay indoors. You can go outside and see things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have a lot of bird activity in the winter if you're feeding birds, and of course eagles. We see an influx of those. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do. A lot of wildlife you can watch in the winter as well.
You mentioned bird feeders and bird houses and so forth, and people might wonder, well, what's the best thing to feed the birds? You see bird seed all over the place for sale. You mentioned black sunflower. So those kind of questions, people might come to you and say, I have a feeder. What do I put in it?
Exactly, yeah, and we do advise people about that. The all-around best bird seed that people can have is black oil sunflower seed. So that's something that we try to let people know about too. And there's other things you can feed too, and if you're having problems with squirrels and things like that, exactly, we can advise people about things like that as well and what to feed them.
Do you see that some people might say, well, I'll plant the sunflower so I'll have my own seeds next winter?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. I encourage people to do that. Yeah.
So once they find out something works, they'll try to do that and carry it through.
And there's a lot of other seeds that birds eat, so that's why, like in our gardens at the Nature Center, we're leaving coneflowers and things up. We don't cut everything down because, number one, you have insects that are going to be spending the winter there, and then they're in the pupa stage or alive, and then if you cut them down, you disrupt their homes. But also, all those flower heads are seed for birds.
So they can come in and use those all winter long and tie them together. And so everything from birds to butterflies, the insects, a lot of just right there outside the door.
Absolutely.
Together. Well, what do you enjoy the most? You've talked about some of the programs you've been running and activity interacting with people. What do you enjoy the most working as a naturalist?
It's absolutely the people. It's getting to meet different people. Especially, I love working with children, whether it's in the preschool programs or the school-aged kids that we work with. And there is nothing quite like connecting with a child in a special way and being able to see some kind of a light go on in their eyes, and they get really excited about something. And there's no better feeling in the world for me as a naturalist than seeing that happen. I love to see enthusiasm and excitement in a child when you're exposing them to something maybe maybe that they've never seen or never heard before. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Great. And we hear so much about in today's society, children spending so much time on computers and on their phones and so forth. To get them out into nature is a big step for many people.
Oh, and it's very important. There's so much research, and I encourage people to read about that a little bit more. There's so much research about nature deficit disorder and how that really is a problem. And we really want people to read up about that and understand that you can solve a lot of problems by breaking your children away from the electronics and getting them outdoors. It helps with depression, it helps with attention deficit disorder.
Right.
So there's many good things about getting your children in nature, and we really want to encourage people to do that.
It sparks a lot of curiosity, I'm sure.
It does.
Once
oh my
they
goodness.
start learning, imagine.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of things parents can do with their kids in nature, and we want to be able to teach them to do that too. Just, whether it's crafty things with them or whatever. There's a lot of things people can do with their kids.
Generations working together.
Absolutely, and it doesn't involve your phone.
And of course, we're at the recording this program at a university, Missouri Southern. Do you have opportunities for maybe university students who are into environmental science or those types of outdoor areas of study to get involved too, or come out and learn?
I believe that there are times when we can use some help, whether it would be trail cleanup, whether they can do things like that. I'm sure there are other things that I'm not thinking about right now, but
if they're interested, they can call the center and find out, what can I do, or how can we get that hands-on experience?
We'll be able to talk to them and see if we can't hook them up in some way with something.
Great. Well, one thing we haven't talked specifically about is when you're open. So let's let the audience know before we wrap up. We say when the center's open. So what are your hours?
Oh, certainly. We are open from Tuesday through Friday, from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
Okay.
All right, and then Saturday we're open from 10 till 3. Okay. We're closed on Sundays and we're closed on Mondays, as well as all state holidays.
And that's just the center building, but you can still do the trails.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't worry about that if you're just out for doing the trails, because the trails remain open.
Great. And the resources, if somebody's looking to pick up those brochures, they're walk-in, most of them free of charge or a small minimal charge?
There is no charge for anything that we do, no charge for programs. Those bird feeders that people put together were free, so no charge.
Thanks to being part of the state conservation department and system.
People help pay for all of these programs and nature centers and so forth when they buy something. So there's a 1/8 of 1% sales tax, as well as the money that we receive from permits that people purchase. So
it's there for them to use since they help support it.
It is, absolutely.
So have you seen an increase? It's only been a few months since you've been open, as far as people discovering that you're open again and coming out there?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, especially on the weekends, of course, when people are available, when they're not working. But yeah, we see a lot more people coming right now than we had in the past. But also, on the weekends, with the weather being nicer for a while. Right now it's not, That really encourages people, of course, to get outside and to come in and visit us. So.
Well, sounds like a lot of opportunities for people in the region.
It is. We look forward to having more people come and more people joining us for programs too.
Great. Well, Kim, I'd like to thank you very much for coming by today, sharing information.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it, Judy.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on the station. We'll see you then.